Today we have a antifreeze leak, a coolant leak, coming out from underneath the vehicle. You can see it in this next video clip. Coming right out from behind your harmonic balancer. So this is a 1999 Infiniti QX4 3.3 liter engine, 187,000 miles. When you look at it, it appears to be coming from the water pump. And that was my initial thought and initial reaction. So I went ahead and changed the water pump and the timing belt and the idler bearing because I went with my gut feeling. And in the end, it was not my water pump. If you want to see my timing belt video and my water pump video, you can just check that out. However, after the job was complete, I noticed that there was still dripping coming up from where one would think that would be the water pump. So of course I was quite disappointed, and it would only leak when the car was running. In the nighttime, engine running, I got my flashlight out and I was looking all over the engine compartment, and just to see if I could see any moisture, because it had to be more towards the top of the engine because it would not leak when the vehicle was turned off, only when there was pressure in the system. So it had to be up somewhere high. And so what I found was, I found some moisture. I had to shine the light up through here, and I saw some moisture back in here. And when you look back in here really good, there's actually a hose right there, and it's a small hose with a 90-degree bend. And of course, with the engine turned off, I stuck my finger down there just to kind of feel it, to kind of feel for moisture. And when I did, I felt the spongiest hose I've ever felt. Pretty alarming. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to remove it from the top side. So before we get too far, it's a good idea to remove the negative from the battery terminal. And that would be a 10mm socket. Cable removed. Plug disconnected. Now I'm gonna loosen up these screws and pull the cap on. I'm gonna place this off to the side. So it's gonna be much easier with this distributor out of here. So let's go ahead and disconnect the, I believe this is a capacitor. We'll disconnect the capacitor also. Distributor's already disconnected. I'm gonna mark the angles, so I'm gonna the timing does not get messed. All right, so I used a white marker to mark the positioning there, and I used a magic marker down there. So I'm using an extension with a U-joint and a 12mm socket, and I'm going to be removing that bolt right there. All right, so with everything marked and the bolt removed, it kind of fell on me down there, but I'll grab it here in a second. We're gonna pull this distributor out. And there she is. So gently place this off to the side for right. And I'm going to plug this hole up. So look at that hose right there. Look how swollen it looks. It's swollen a lot. All right, let's get this thing out of here. So here's what I'm gonna attempt to do. I have my needle nose vice grips, and I have my flat blade screwdriver. So for this top hose, fortunately mine's positioned in a decent spot, but this clip is kind of angled at a weird spot. So I'm going to start so that I can get a hold of it with my vice grips. So that's what I was able to do. I'm going to try to get it off of that position right there. All right, so the concept works. You can see I got a good hold of it. But with the hose being so swollen, getting that clamp over the swollen hose is pretty much impossible. So work smarter, not harder. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this hose. All right, so if my vice grip's holding the clamp open, using my fishing fillet knife, an old one that I had sitting around, to cut the a line right straight across, as you can see right here, and then I used a long pair of needle nose pliers to kind of fish it out of there. So it's fairly clean. All right, place your clamp off to the side. Be careful unclamping it. It's under pressure. Using my longer needle nose pliers, the bottom clamp pulls right up. So please be careful whenever you're using razor blades or fillet knives or anything like that, because they're very sharp. All right. So I've got a vertical cut down there. I'm just going to take my pliers and start pulling it out. Okay, it pulled out. I think I've been at this for about 30 minutes. So far pulling it out, it's not too bad. Alright, so I went to AutoZone, bought some more antifreeze, I bought the new hose, and I bought some clamps. My plan is to use this clamp on the top and try to reuse the original clamp for the bottom. The hose from AutoZone, here's the part number. As you can see, it's quite a bit larger, but it is cut to fit, so we'll have to cut it to fit. Alright, so I'm going to line up the inside bend because that's the only true alignment point that I have. I'm going to mark it. Alright, so as you can see, I cut it just outside of the marks that I made. And I'm going to fit it into place to see if I need to trim any off. So placing over the top of the bottom one, I can see the length here is right about where I want it. It's not too long, not too short. This one down here might be a bit too long, but we'll see. So I used the original clamp for the bottom, and as you can see, use the original clamp for the bottom. I cleaned the nipple up on the engine block side, and I used the same long needle nose pliers that I used before. Fortunately for me, the hose slipped down into position where I needed it, and I just pushed the clamp down and then slowly released it. So because the distance between that fuel line and the back of that cover is narrower than the actual hose clamp itself, I'm going to start the hose clamp down here on the nipple, and I'm going to position the hose in there and then walk the clamp over the top of the hose. So use something blunt, something that's not sharp like a screwdriver. Don't use a screwdriver, but use something blunt like the end of your ratchet to kind of push the hose down to get it to the position where you need to. So, and as you're pushing down on it, run your finger down to the bottom side to make sure that it's not folded under. So you want to make sure that all the way around that it's actually fitting over the top of that nipple. Looks like we're starting to get in there. Attempt number 1, failure. The minute I started pouring coolant in there, I could just hear it dripping down, dripping down, dripping down. I put my fingers down there, it was coming around. I didn't have a good seat on there. Pulled it all right back out again. All right, so I pulled it back off, hose and everything back out of there. This time I went back to the original clamp and was holding it with these vice grips. Man, they were critical. All right, I can see right now that that's not gonna work very well. So I'm gonna go back to my original plan A, and I'm gonna start with the bottom, and I'm gonna redo the top, but I'm gonna use the original clamp. Your fingers in. So I put a layer of grease around the nipple because just to help ease the hose on. I think that helped a little bit. All right, so I went back to this hose clamp, and now my biggest challenge is getting that hose over the complete nipple, and it's hanging up on the bottom part there where it just kind of wants to squeeze itself inside. So what I've done is I've greased up a feeler gauge, and we'll see if I can't put this in front of it so they can give it a riding surface to kind of push down, and when I have it lined up, I'll pull it up. All right, so that actually worked the first time, and it's pushing right on there right now. So now I'm going to maneuver this clamp over the top of that hose. I should have done that in the first place. Oh well. So yeah, the bottom is pushed down into place. I'm gonna go ahead and get that bottom clamp into place. Then what I'll do is I'll push this in like this. I'll push this in while I tighten the clamp. Okay, finally. People, this took freaking forever. That was so frustrating. Okay. All right. Let me add some fluid to make sure. I'm gonna fill it up like I did with the funnel. And that way the funnel will be the highest point, and if there's a leak, it'll start coming out. Okay, let me see. I don't hear anything. It's good. I don't see anything dripping, so that's good. Let's get that distributor back on. Okay, so the distributor is secured into place. The key is to keep that mark lined up right there. And looks like we're good to go, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the cap back on. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the negative terminal back on. Tighten it up with your okay, let's start it up and see if we can't bleed some of the air out. Alright. Goal is accomplished. I don't see any more dripping coming out from there. So that's a wrap. Looks like that hose fixed it, so yay! And today was a vacation day for me, and I didn't want to have to take a second vacation day. Goal accomplished. I shed a few tears, but goal was accomplished. Thank you for watching. The hose, the antifreeze, and the hose clamps. A little over $31. So the parts are not too bad, but it's going to take you a little bit of time to do this. I probably spent at least 4 hours replacing this hose. Getting to it is not bad. 20 to 30 minutes to get to it, 15 minutes to put everything back together. The rest of it, replacing that hose. Good luck. Don't forget to press like, and please subscribe if you like watching my videos.